you very much, the band. I think Senate procession is on course, so we will please give music that will enable Senate to process. Will the assembly rise? Rise up wherever you are, please. Please, rise up wherever you are. Senate procession is on for the 103rd Inaugural Lecture of the University of New York. Mr. Kingsley Ibom, the head of Senate, is leading the procession, followed by great scholars of the University of Deans of Faculties, Professors, their different fields of specialties. Education, the Dean of the Faculty of Environmental Studies, the Dean Faculty of Vocational Education and Library Science, the Dean Faculty of Agriculture, very many deans of faculties are in the procession. Professor Best Ochipo is in that procession. Professor Luke Ayo is in the procession. Professor Augustine Obana is in that procession. Is in the procession. All of these are from Faculty of Arts, Department of English. Professor Adeshola, the builder, is in the procession. The provost of the College of Health Sciences, Professor Enoy Peme, is in the procession. Professor Felicia Eko is in the procession. Professor Benjamin Eto is in the procession. Of course, Professor Isaac Ayandele is in the procession. Father is the Dean of the Postgraduate School, Professor Basi Antia. Professor Dominic Akpan, the historian, is in the profession. Imelda Udo is in the procession, the linguist, all of them from the Faculty of Arts. Today is a great day for the Faculty of Arts. They are Dean and one department of English. Professor Joe Ushie is the one that is going to tell you he has been professing.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay where you are. A little time for Senate to sit properly. Professor Esu and the rest, a little time for them to sit properly. Thank you. They take their seats. Ladies and gentlemen, we go straight to item number 3 on the events, program of events of this day. The national anthem we will stand and take. That will be followed by the University of New York anthem. Only one verse of the national anthem will be taken. Thank you. University of Uyo anthem, please. Indulgence to still remain standing as the registrar of this institution will give us the opening prayer. The registrar.
Please lift up our hearts as we pray. Our great and eternal God, we thank you this afternoon. We thank you for University of Uyo. We thank you for being with us from the beginning of this year. Here we are in July. Father, we bless your name for the Vice Chancellor, the management team, all the stakeholders. Father, we thank you. We thank you for the gown. We thank you for the time that you're praying today together. We thank you for the journey mercies granted to all our guests. We thank you for our guests all the way from Gabon. We thank you. We bless your name as we gather this afternoon to receive knowledge. Father, we ask that your spirit will guide us. Your spirit will lead us. Your spirit will take preeminence in this auditorium. We thank you. Our prayers is in Jesus' name.
Please sit. Ushers, please assist the guests who are just arriving to quickly get settled. We have enough seats for all our guests. Thank you. The Vice Chancellor of University of Uyo and Chairman of this great occasion, our dear inaugural lecturer, the Deputy Vice Chancellor's Administration and Academic, the Registrar and Secretary to Senate of this university, the boss of this institution here present, the University Librarian, the inaugural lecturer presenter, the representative of the Dean of the Faculty of Arts here present, the Provost of the College of Health Sciences, Dear Vice Chancellors, Provosts, and Rectors of sister institutions here present, our former Vice Chancellors, and other principal officers of the University of Uyo, and those from other universities here present, the Chairman, Committee of Deans, Deans of Faculties, the Postgraduate School and Student Affairs, Directors of Academic Directorates, Research Centers, Institutes, Schools, and Administrative Directorates, Professors, and permanent members of University Senate, Director of Academic Affairs, Head of Academic and Administrative Departments and Units of this university and other universities here present, Chairman and President of Staff Unions, President of the Student Union, University of Uyo, members of the University of Uyo community, statesmen, politicians, captains of industries, and other great leaders and stakeholders of this institution here present. Distinguished, the lecture is titled How Really Post-Colonial Studies in Nigeria. Spiritual and temporal. This lecture is going to be delivered students of the University of Uyo, one who is probably the lecturer of many lecturers, friends, associates, the current dean, faculty of arts, friends and lovers of the Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie, a professor of general linguistics and literary criticism at the Department of English, Faculty of Arts, University of Uyo. Historic day in the life of this university. As he presents the lecture, we will come to understand why the university holds inaugural lectures. But just before then, may I brief us that inaugural lectures are events being part of the tradition of the university the world over. When a lecturer enters the profession, stays for years, he do research and other things. At the end of the day, he will gather the whole world, the town and the gown, to tell them what he has been professing. That is what Professor Joseph Ushie is going to do today. And for that purpose, we are all gathered. I won't take our time more. We'll go straight to the program of events that we have in our hands. We have already completed 4 items on that program. We are going to the 5th item. The time we want to listen to the chairman of this occasion, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Uyo and Chairman of Senate, Professor Nwaniba, as he gives us the remarks. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, your remarks.
Thank you very much, Ivan. The Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, and I want to request that you all accept and adopt the already established protocol, not because I am involved, but because we are involved. I'm sure you want to live early. And to simply welcome all of you to today's inaugural lecture. And to thank God also for His grace and mercy, bringing us from far and near, for the purpose of which we are here for. As we have been told, one of us, a great scholar, a man who has mentored many. Yes, he has. Very soon you know why I have to say so. Our own dear Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie will be guiding us today, evaluating postcolonial studies in Nigeria. And at the end of it all, will tell us whether it is real or not. I think that's the message. So I want all to sit, relax, feel fine. I'm sure by the time he tells us thank you, you know whether it is real or not. So please welcome and enjoy yourself. Thank you.
Thank you to dear Vice Chancellor for the brief remarks. Before I invite the inaugural lecturer presenter, I want to apologize to Professor Asham and to all of us who know him for the printer's devil that refused to print his name as correctly as it should be. Prof, apologies. May I therefore invite the inaugural lecturer presenter, a professor of development communication and the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, Professor Asham Clifford Asham, to present the lecturer to us.
Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, principal officers of the university, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to invite Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie to please stand. Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie, simply known as Joe Ushie in literary circles, is a distinguished Nigerian scholar, critic, poet, literary artist, capacity builder, courageous and visionary activist, great lover of humanity, and by the grace of God Almighty, the first professor from Bendi in Obaliku local government. Professor Ushie was born in Akwa, Bendi, on January 20, 1958, as the sixth child of his mother. His father, who went the way of all flesh 5 years ago, at a ripe age of about 120, was Elder Stephen Ushie, also spelled as Ibom. And his mother was Josephine Ushie, who had gone earlier. After his primary school education at the famous St. Peter's Primary School, Bendi, from 1965 to 1970, he attended Government Secondary School, Obudu, from 1972 to 1976, where I had the privilege of being his classmate. He obtained the West African School Certificate in 1976. In 1979, he proceeded to the University of Calabar, where he obtained a Bachelor of Arts, second class honors, upper division in English and Literary Studies in 1983. Professor Ushie was one of the most impactful officials of the Student Union of the University of Calabar in his position as Secretary General in the 1980-1981 session. At the Premier University of Ibadan, Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie earned the MA English in 1988. He returned to Ibadan in 1996 for the PhD program, which he obtained in 2001, specializing in general stylistics and literary criticism under the supervision of Nigeria's foremost poet and stylistician, Professor Lee Oshundare. Professor Joseph demonstrated brilliance and sagacity at all levels of his education, and he has various awards to show for this. Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie began his work experience as a trained Radio Nigeria, subsequently Rima radio journalist in Sokoto, before leaving for the University of Calabar as a student in 1979. That being the same year, he was recognized as Reporter of the Year. He later started his teaching career, as a graduate assistant, then called teaching assistant, in 1985 at the erstwhile University of Cross River State, Unicross, Uyo, now University of Uyo, where he has remained to this day. He grew through the ranks and was promoted professor with effect from October 1, 2013. As a university teacher, Professor Ushie has taught several generations of students, some of whom are now professors in their own right. This makes him a professor of professors and a teacher of teachers. In his rewarding career as an academic, he has supervised close to 100 undergraduates and over 15 postgraduate theses and dissertations, with some ongoing. Apart from the numerous ones in Nigeria, he has examined over 30 PhD theses in more than 10 universities in India. Apart from this, he has served at various times as external examiner for undergraduate and postgraduate works, as well as assessor for professorial appointments to several universities within and outside the country. Among these universities are the University of Calabar, University of Port Harcourt, University of Ibadan, University of Abuja, Abia State University, Uturu, Federal University, Bukari, Clifford University, Owerenta, Abia State, Akwa State University, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, and Richmond University, Ikodebana, Akwa State. In addition to teaching, research, and supervision, Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie has held many positions within and outside the University of Uyo, where he has taught in the last 39 years. Some of these responsibilities are Secretary, Academic Staff Union of Universities, Uyo Branch, 2003 to 2007, Coordinator, Departmental Graduate Program, Editorial Consultant, Uyo Bulletin, Head of Department 2012 to 2016, and Vice Dean Postgraduate School 2017 to 2019. As proof of his unparalleled popularity among his peers, he was elected unopposed as Dean, Faculty of Arts on March 4, 2021, arguably one of the first, if not the very first Dean to be so elected for the first term in the University of Uyo. He was again returned unopposed as Dean in March 2023, a position he holds till date. He had also been a member of the committee that composed the university song, the committee that reviewed the current version of the University of Uyo Regulations governing staff conditions of service, a member of the University Subcommittee on Convocation since 2006, and a member governing board of the School of Continuing Education and Professional Studies. Other responsibilities include Chairman, Association of Nigerian Authors, Akwa Ibom State Chapter, 2010 to 2016, Visiting Professor, Omar Bongo University, Libreville, Gabon, an opportunity which he used to facilitate collaboration between that university and the University of Uyo. And maybe I should leave this honor to him. He's honored by a delegation from that university here today. He's also a member of the editorial board committee, Gandhigram Literary Review, Tamil Nadu, India, judge and co-editor, the Montreal International Poetry Prize, 2017, Canada, resource person and consultant to the Secretariat of Maritime Organization of West and Central Africa, and judge, Association of Nigerian Authors Annual National Competitions, 2009 to 2010. Professor Ushie has also held very many positions within the hierarchy of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, some of which include being member, ASU National Committee on Civil Societies and Human Rights, Editor-in-Chief, ASU Journal of Humanities. He is a resource person, anchor and consultant editor to many journals and bodies. Ladies and gentlemen, if I go on, we might not have time for his lecture. Let's talk about his contribution to scholarship. Professor Joseph Ushie is an acclaimed, respected, and often quoted scholar, especially in the areas of stylistics and literary criticism, sociolinguistics, African literature, African diaspora literature, creative writing, poetry in particular, and cultural studies. He is the author of several books and book chapters, well over 50 journal articles in local and international journals, conference papers, and guest lectures. He has 6 volumes of poetry and is the editor of and contributor to the 7th volume, Tsunami Blues. Some of these collections have been translated into French, Finnish, German, Italian, and Spanish. And they are taught to students in those countries and around the world. He has also co-authored and edited a number of books, including Themes Fall Apart, But the Center Holds, 2009, Essays on the History, Language, and Culture of Bendi, 2014, Harvest from the Gown, Volume 2, First Read in honor of Professor Comfort M. Elko, 2014, and Arrows or Gods, Critical Essays on the Leadership Question in Chinua Achebe's Arrow of God, 2017. His creative works are the subject of an edited volume of critical essays titled Joe Ushie, Critical Perspectives, published this month, that's July 2024, by Sisus World, based in the USA, whose editor is D.K. Okoro. Professor Joseph Ushie is a widely traveled scholar. He was Nigeria's representative on the United States Fulbright program in New York in 2002, a representative of Africa region as plenary speaker in an international conference in Malaysia tagged Worlds in Discourse in 2005, and the African representative to the 2010 Philippine Pen Das Poets, Essayists, and Novelists International Conference, Montebello, Villa Hotel, Cebu City, Philippines, to mark 50 years of pen in that country. In addition, he has attended and delivered papers, lectures in conferences and workshops in almost all the states of Nigeria and in many other cities in Ghana, Cameroon, the United Kingdom, and taught at the Omar Bongo University, Libreville, Gabon, as a visiting scholar for 3 years. To Professor Ushie, academics is a duty which he must respond to and apply to serve the community. He has cultivated, groomed, and touched many lives and communities positively in Nigeria and the world at large. He has contributed significantly to the success stories of many young ones within and outside the country. It was part of his love and commitment to the community that propelled him to teach at the Bendi Technical College without a salary for several years. I thought that deserved an applause. He painstakingly compiled in 1985 the customs and usages of Bendi, a document that has remained relevant to students and scholars of the humanities. In continuation of his community service, Professor Ushie has recently formed 2 cultural groups, Akwa Ushie Dance Group and the Bendi Traditional Marriage Theatre, with focus on the reincarnation of the traditional performances of the peoples of Old Ogudu, Akwa, and their neighbors. Formed in 2013, the Litong Dance Group has featured in many cultural events and is now a leading dance group in the northern parts of Cross River State. As of today, the group has enjoyed some scholarly attention, which includes being the focus of the final year degree research project in English and Literary Studies at the University of Calabar and a Master of Arts degree in the Department of Music at the University of New York. And as we hinted earlier, the Libe Songs and Dance Group is poised to bring back the Better Bendi people's traditional marriage songs and drama as a form of entertainment and social criticism. Interestingly, Professor Ushie is currently working on the transcription and translation of the songs of both groups for publication as Better Bendi oral traditional poetry. Professor Ushie is a man highly recognized and decorated for his scholarship and achievements in other spheres of life. He is a recipient of at least 16 awards of distinction, including Cross River State Government Honors Award for Outstanding Contribution to the Growth of African Literature and Culture 2000. Nigeria's representative on the U.S. government-sponsored Fulbright program on the United States through Literature Reading America 2002, recipient of the 2010-2011 Academia Awards as Education Ambassador of Akwa Ibom State 2011, and he was the only African whose poem, Africa Today, won entry into the 2015 Montreal, Canada-based Global Poetry Anthology. Also, Professor Ushie is listed in News Trends Who's Who in Akwa Ibom State as one of the non-indigenous stakeholders 2012 to 2015. And he has also earned a Lifetime Achievement Award in the 2017 edition of the famous Albert Nelson McQueen Who's Who in the World. Our distinguished inaugural lecturer is also a fellow Association of Nigerian Authors, ANA, member, Board of Trustees, Association of Nigerian Authors, and one of the first 6 members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, to be conferred with the coveted honor of ASU Hero of the University of New York. His poetry book, Yawns and Belches, won the 2019 Sheikh Husani Anna Poetry Prize and made the 2022 long list of the Nigerian Prize for Literature organized by the Nigerian Liquefied Natural Gas. Two other works of his, Eclipse in Rwanda and Hill Songs, had been runner-up in 1995 and 2004 respectively. In 2021, he was inducted as Fellow, Association of Nigerian Authors, thus becoming till date the only indigene of Cross River and Akwa Ibom states to be so inducted. Ushie's poetry has been widely studied and read to audiences both in the country and around the world. Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie is a prolific writer whose fertile imagination and literary output earned him recognition by the Bukwara Council of Chiefs when they elected to award him a chieftaincy title of Nwaniba, the writer son of Abba, on September 3, 2022. There might not have been any signs in the cosmos or even on the hills of Bendi to herald the birth of a humble avatar when Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie came into the world 6.5 decades ago in a very humble way. But all through his life's sojourn so far, he is undoubtedly a living emblem of the best of human values: commitment to serve others, sacrifice, honesty, sincerity, and moral courage. I find so many admirable qualities in Professor Joseph Ushie, including his ability to proffer alternative viewpoints without sounding overbearing, his penchant for disagreeing without being disagreeable, his commitment to getting things done without minding who gets the credit, and his transparent honesty and integrity. Professor Ushie has consistently reminded Nigerians that they could pursue wealth honorably and live modestly rather than pursue wealth in a way that would endanger the well-being of others. Perhaps it is appropriate to quote from Professor Niyi Osundare's recent exposition on Professor Ushie at some length to drive home the world's opinion on the character of these illustrious sons of Nigeria and Africa. In the words of Oshundare, in 1996, during his days as a doctoral student at the University of Ibom, Akawu had gone to his bank on the university campus to withdraw some money. Bank transaction over, he returned to his room in the postgraduate hall to resume his work. It was not until much later, when he reached out for his wallet, that he discovered that he had been overpaid by some 5,000 naira, worth probably over 100,000 naira today. During his banking business earlier in the day, characteristically, Akawu never saw this as some dubious manna from heaven or an act of poetic justice against a typical Nigerian bank bloated by rampant profiteering. He picked up his wallet and made a dash for the bank. It was pretty near closing time, and the bank was finding it exasperatingly difficult to balance its books for the day. The atmosphere was tense. The expensive air conditioners were finding it difficult to cope with the flood of sweat on the brows of the troubled bankers. When, at last, Akawu managed to cajole his way to the manager's office, where he tendered his overpay, the desperate groans sweetened up into joyful ululations. And the grateful bankers shook Akawu's hand till it ached, with many of them asking rhetorically, so this is still possible? So this is still possible in Nigeria? Professor Niyi Oshundare later further eulogized our inaugural lecturer in the following poem, which has been published in the Northern Anthology of World Poetry. Some days, 23 to Akawu. Some days know the secret meaning of the heart. Their oracles are acres of clay, watered by the kindest dew. Their music, the beat of every pulse. Smiles grow in the garden of their lips. There is grace in their greeting, bliss in their blessing. A merciful moon sits in the center of their night. Their hours ripen in the shadows of a generous sun. When they pass, houses throw open their doors. Flowers drape them in their rarest fragrance. For them, tenderness is no treason. Compassion is no constraint. Some days are not allergic to softness. Some days are not afraid of being human. And from Elijah Paul Alexander, his bosom friend, in Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, Akawu leaves no one in doubt as to where he stands at any point in time. Throughout his life and career, Akawu has chosen to walk the path of integrity with grit. Many years ago, I met him in Uyo at a time when an epidemic of sudden wealth had broken out and infected many a lecturer, who all seemed to have one passion and dream: finally own and drive a car. I asked Akawu, how come you are still cruising on your Legacies at 3 kilometers an hour? I will never sell handouts, he answered with an infectious smile. Still among the testimonies from friends and colleagues outside the country comes this one from his friend from the Republic of Finland, Dr. Mrs. Lotta Kakkonen. Joseph has been my trusted mentor, who always encourages me in all my academic efforts. He has the capacity of finding the solacing words that have often been a guiding light in my path. More than anything else, we have been friends who share intellectual thoughts, love for words and literature, and all curious details the human soul contains. His unique voice and imaginative mind always brings a smile in my face. Whenever his image or an echo of his graceful words comes to my mind, I feel blessed. I may be boring you, but please indulge me a little more. Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie, a committed member of the Assemblies of God Church, is married to Mrs. Roslyn Akawu Ushie, and the marriage is blessed with 4 lovely children, all seated here. Mr. Chairman, sir, my lords spiritual and temporal, ladies and gentlemen, what else do I need to say about Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie that will be more revealing than his practical life? Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie is a kind and impassioned teacher, an academic giant, a cosmopolitan scholar, an engaging intellectual colossus, indefatigable humanist and poet with a Vedic voice. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, it is therefore my pleasure to present to you the 103rd Inaugural Lecturer of the University of Uyo, this living legend, wordsmith, erudite scholar, teacher and mentor, Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie.
officer, the DVC's admin and academic, the registrar, the university librarian, the bursar, and other members of management of the University of Uyo. Let me begin by thanking God. Let me begin by thanking God for bringing me this far on His wings, because there is no strength in me. If it were a question of physical strength, I have some, but I couldn't have been the strongest in the world. And sometimes some of the forces are unseen. So it is only God and He alone that can make you come this far in life. So I thank you. Next, I thank you, the Vice Chancellor, and the members of your team for making it possible for me to stand before these wonderful, so beautiful people that make me tick to talk to us. Because if you didn't approve of my presenting this lecture today, I wouldn't do it. So I really thank you for that opportunity. And permit me to please move on to the main issue. Further recognition will come at the end of the lecture. But I must salute a certain category, the great Nigerian students. Because they are the reason for our being here, all of us. So others, please permit me, will return at the end. When I wrote JAM in 1979, this is one thing that most people don't know. English was not one of my choices. Law was my first choice. I think it was either political science or philosophy that was my second choice. And I passed the JAM. We were selected. But it happened that University of Calabar was not ready then to take off, for the Faculty of Law to take off. So they dispersed those of us who had passed to other departments. Yeah, that's how I found myself in the Department of English. And I accepted it. Yes. I accepted it. By today, I don't know what I would have been, or if I had read law. But I thank God for directing my steps to the study of English. And because, as you find, the Bible, the book of Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 23 says, "O Lord, I know that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walketh to direct his steps." So it is the great Creator Himself that directed my steps to the study of English, and I'm happy He did. Thank you. When people announce themselves as graduates of English, the main thing that people expect is excellent use of the language. You speak in a certain manner. You write flawlessly. And sometimes too, when students are admitted to the department, even just when they enter the gate, they change their accent to what they consider the received pronunciation. I'm not from here, and sometimes it happens. So when I came in as a lecturer, my first port of call was the teaching of the use of English. And I was there. I'm going to say a little more about that. But my main area of specialization, as you were told by my good friend and brother, is general statistics and literary criticism. So But when you talk about the English itself, some people think that all of English is about the use of English. No. But since that too is a discipline that people, is an aspect of the discipline that people really are interested in, I decided, especially when I was teaching use of English, I had a certain approach to it. I would always listen keenly to how people speak, and then I read scripts, and then I pick out what I consider inappropriate expressions, and those inappropriate expressions would form the examples in my next lecture. I'm going to do that too here. I have picked some in recent years, and I'm going to explain some of them. But before I do that, let me do two things. That is, I'm going to conflate what I consider the key concept with an explanation of the topic. First is that I didn't choose the topic consciously. It was a very difficult thing to do. So what I did was to now read my works, the little contributions I've made, and then allow them to suggest a topic. And so what you find as how really post-colonial studies in Nigeria was suggested to me by the work I've done. And I accepted the suggestion. So, and I'm going to explain. But before I do that, I will explain that with what I consider the key concept. Post-colonial, whether with a hyphen or without a hyphen, whether with in quotation marks or not, is derived from the key term colonialism. Colonialism itself, as we all know, has to do with the domination of one people by another, usually for economic interest. So we have three basic types of colonial colonies. We have settlement colonies. For example, the United States is a settlement colony. Brazil is a settlement colony. New Zealand, Australia, these are settlement colonies in the sense that the colonizer actually moved his citizens to occupy the area of another territory. Now we also have exploitation colonies. For example, Nigeria, which means the citizens of the colonizing nation remain where they are, and then they colonize it. Sometimes it is even their companies that first, like a hunter dog, moves about, finds an area, and then goes back to ask their home country to give them the army and the police to enforce the exploitation of an area they have found, they have discovered in quotes. So that is Nigeria falls within that category. Then we have the third category, and this is usually is not very popular. We call them maritime enclaves. There are certain areas that we are colonized just for the purpose of the colonizer having access to having military bases. And in, like Singapore, for example, was colonized because Britain felt she was going to use the area as a seaport to carry her commodities, mainly tin, out. So we have those three kind of colonies. But whether it's whichever colony that it is, a time comes when the colonized begin to agitate for freedom. And then freedom comes. When freedom comes, the nations declare themselves independent. Now, independence comes in two forms. You can have real independence, and you can also have fake, counterfeit, flag, ersatz independence. When you talk of real independence, we are talking of independence that really gives you freedom, makes you to think as a people. And if you are truly independent in that sense, you will normally be better than, you will come up being better than the country that has colonized you. because you are picking the best aspects and traditions of your own world before you were colonized, and merging them with the best that you have harvested from your colonial experience to have something new and inimitable. So that way, you find that always the colony that emerges after independence is better than the people that the country that are colonizing. And the other ingredients of a truly independent country are autarky. Autarky means you develop love for your own homemade things. You develop interest in the things you do yourself, and you promote them. So when India became independent, India went back to the bicycle culture. Those of us who are old will know that we used to laugh at India that they were riding bicycles. And then they went back to the Sanskrit medical practice. And then they brought the best from there and merged with what they got from Western medical tradition. And they formed a new inimitable medical practice that now sends people from even the US to India for some kinds of treatment. That is a truly independent country. But we also have the one other feature of independence, a truly independent country, is that in such a country, there is continued emphasis on education. There is continued development of institutions, strengthening of institutions. There is also, before the country launches into operation, its nationalists convert to nationalists. A nationalist is someone who fights for independence, for freedom. Then, when independence comes, he converts to nationalist. A nationalist is a nation builder. So the nationalists sit together and agree. How do we go forward? Because in most cases, colonies are developed arbitrarily. The boundaries, they are only financial, commercial, economic interest is considered. So the boundaries are usually arbitrary, as we find in Africa. So usually after independence, the nationalists sit together and say, we have a complex society, we have minorities, we have, how are we going to bring about inclusivity? How are we going to be sure that everybody is included? There is the weaker people are carried along. The women, the children, the minorities are carried along. So that is what happens in a truly independent country. But then, we have the other way that you can follow after independence, and that is the neo-colonial part. So that if you are truly independent, in the sense I've just described, it will be okay for you to describe yourself as a post-colonial country, in the sense that post, from the English point of view, is after. In other words, independence has come, thraldom has come, manumission, freedom has come. Now, but if that is not the case, you can also have a situation in which the domination continues. There is no freedom. Your economy remains under the control of those who colonize you, and even others who did not colonize you but who are advanced. So when that happens, we refer to such a situation as a neo-colonial society. Neo is also the prefix meaning new, continuation. New, there's nothing post about it. So these are the key concepts. Now, the key person who formulated the idea of neo-colonialism was Kwame Nkrumah. And I will quote him, he said, neo-colonialism is also the worst form of imperialism. For those who practice it, it means power without responsibility. Power without responsibility. And for those who suffer from it, it means exploitation without redress. That should sound familiar to us in this country. And then we have another author who says neo-colonialism refers to the further extension of economic control and influence by the ex-colonial powers after they have surrendered political state power. And then Fanon cites an example of one of our African leaders, Mba. He was the one that took over from the French, Gabonese president, the first. And he said, in all seriousness on his arrival for an official visit, Liomba said, Gabon is independent, but between Gabon and France, nothing has changed. Everything goes on as before. So those are indicators of neo-colonialism. The fact that colonization has not stopped. And then what are the other indices? I will mention just two. In a typical neo-colonial state, the control, in this case, sometimes like in Nigeria, it's not only Britain that is, we have offered ourselves, Britain has continued, but we have also very dutifully offered ourselves to America and other powers. We are now looking for another colonizer, maybe China, and telling them we are available, we are here. So that is what we call neo-colonialism. And then what are the indicators? So in a neo-colonial state, the control over the economy remains in the hands of those who colonize it and other new powers. Then the other aspect of a neo-colonial state is that instead of the nationalists converting to nationalism, such as we had, in Tanzania, Tanzania is actually made up of Tanganyika and Zanzibar. These were the two that came together to form what we now know as Tanzania. And then we had Tanzania working together. The ethnic groups were so integrated that you will not have things like ethnicity. Where are you from? Are you Yoruba, Igbo, Hausa, Ibibio, Anna, Botabeni, or whichever? They are one group, one people. So the nationalists converted and they became nationalists and they led the framework for making that country one. And you find that in several other cases. I will not bore you with example. Now, but also in a neo-colonial state, there's a tendency for the nationalists who fought for independence in quote to now become nationalists of their ethnic groups. They now champion the cause of, oh, I'm an Igbo man, I'm a Yoruba man, I'm an Okuku man, I am this and that. Those are characteristics of neo-colonialism. And I think that this should be familiar to us in Nigeria, so that you have to find your way to Abuja, to the center, otherwise there's nothing for you. So I captured this political aspect in this poem, Pater Noster of African Rulers. And I said, our fathers, which are in DC, London and Paris, hallowed be thy names, thy reign must be, even after our freedom. Thy will be done on us, we, your African faithful. Allow us this day, our daily pecks, and forgive the yearning of our lands. They are damning, yelling at you. Lead us not to the temptation to question your ways, but deliver us from all the yearning of our lands. For thine is Africa, his peoples and resources, forever and ever. So we have a reintroduction of internal colonization and exclusivity, exclusion. These ones are not, they are not mainstream. These ones are, so that all those are symptoms of neo-colonialism. I'll give us one more example. This is a quotation from Philip Asioto. He was one of the big permanent secretaries. He was referring to the Niger Delta situation. And he said, like in many other areas of the world, the regions where oil is found in this country, that is Nigeria, are very inhospitable. They are mainly in swamps and creeks. They require massive injection of money if their conditions and standards of living are to compare with what attains elsewhere in the country, where possibilities of agriculture and diversified industry are much better. There is a nudging acceptance of the special needs of oil areas, nudging acceptance of the special needs of oil areas in the latest proposal being discussed by the government. But I believe there is a long way to go to meet the claims of the oil producing areas, which see themselves losing non-replaceable resources, while replaceable and permanent resources of agri and industry are being developed elsewhere, largely with oil revenue. And then it goes on. Please pay attention. Given, however, the small size and population of the oil producing areas, it is not cynical to observe that even if the resentments of oil producing states continue, they cannot threaten the stability of the country, nor affect its continued development. This is what somebody will say of his own country. So these are all indications or indicators of neo-colonialism, where if you are a minority and you have oil or you have resources, then you don't have the strength to protect them. I will quote, this is Ken Saro who are talking to us now.
Which have done as a monarchy for all these years. The Scots have their own ministerial system. They have ministers running Scottish affairs. You have a minister for Welsh affairs. And we are here wanting to deal with 253 ethnic groups, or slightly less. And we want to promote only 3 of them, or 4 of them as the case may be. So you will find in all the ideas that are being put forward now, we want 6 federations, we want 8 federations. What are they saying? Allow the Hausa, the Yoruba, the Igbo to have 1 federation each. Then corral all the other minorities into certain federations. But in a true federation, all ethnic groups are equal, irrespective of size. If you talk of democracy, democracy is about that equality. And if you don't practice it, you are not a Democrat. So, my advice, if we want to keep this country together, we must not accept simplistic solutions. This is a very complex country. If you look at what I want as an Ogoni, carefully. If you look at what the Shekiri want, carefully. If you look at what the Hausa want, carefully. We may be able to save the situation. But if you take simplistic solutions, we are running into a lot of trouble. That is why the regions failed before. And 3 regions failed, 4 regions failed, now people are talking of 6 regions. 20 years after that failure, I submit that it is wrong. I have an idea what we should do. We must seek a formula. Besides, the United Nations itself has been working very seriously over the last 15 years on the question of minorities and of indigenous peoples. There are indigenous peoples in Nigeria. Yesterday I was sitting here, a young man. He's a Kanuri, but he's settled in Lafia. I have a very fine friend from Lafia. I like him, very fine man. But he's a Kanuri. But he's Turaki of Lafia. Lafia belongs to the Nilsan people. What are the Nilsan people supposed to do? Are they supposed to like it? The same situation applies in Bauchi, where a lot of peoples are on Bauchi, where a lot of peoples are under the arm of other people. They are black people, all right, but it creates a situation of oppression. I submit that we have to look at it very carefully. Now, we must seek a formula which allows all ethnic groups in Nigeria to achieve self-determination and self-respect. This matter of self-respect is important. I go through the whole of this hall. I'm the only body man here. Is there another body man? No. You're wearing the wrong clothes, my friend. Now, that creates he's as tall as you are too. Sitting down is as tall as I am. Now, basically, the country.
So this is Ken Saro addressing the issue, putting it the same way I thought it should be. What we failed to do is what he's talking about. So this is where you have a neo-colonial society. Now, when you talk of neo-colonialism, yeah, the whites are not in Aso Rock, but the whites are there, even firmer on ground than they were during the colonial period. And they are there through such institutions as World Bank, International Monetary Fund, World Trade Organization. It doesn't matter that the Nigerian is there. We know how these things operate. You will be there, the institution is very strong. You work according to its traditions, its norms. And they watch you very carefully to be sure that you are not trying to erode certain basic foundations. So these are the organizations that are now used to link us, to make us to continue as a neo-colonial state. Now, when you have that, I now know this one. This was about the economy. It's a very short one. The inaugural lecturer presenter read. This is the very poem that won entry into the world. They won the world poetry competition. Africa Today. She is the blind, bow-bearing beggar sitting on a roadside. Yeah, sitting on a roadside mound of gold, yawning all day, yawning all night. America arrives, cleaves a chunk of the gold, drops a coin, and some affronts and passes. Asia arrives, cleaves a chunk of the gold, drops a coin, and some contempt and passes. Australia arrives, cleaves a chunk of the gold, drops a coin and some chocolate and passes. Europe passes, cleaves a chunk of the gold, drops a coin and some insult and retires. They held our own one-eyed leader, the African leader himself. He clears the bowl of the dropped coins, blames her plight on her slothfulness, and passes, belching all the way as his beggar land yawns. So this is this is the state of Africa. This is what we mean by neo-colonialism. Now, to the topic, there is one other distinction I want to make. We have post-colonialism or post-colonial without the hyphen. When you have post-colonial studies without the hyphen, these are many studies in language, literature, culture, very well established. So those who have been asking me whether I'm in political science, please, we have post-colonial studies strictly under English, and it's one of the most popular theories. That was why I chose this topic. So we study post-colonial literature, post-colonial language, post-colonial everything without the hyphen. And when post-colonialism comes without the hyphen, it means that as soon as you are colonized as a country, agitation begins. And in Nigeria, as elsewhere in Africa, it started. You have Chinua Achebe, you have Wole Soyinka, you have the political class. They started agitating for independence. Those were post-colonial moves without the hyphen. Why was it important? It was important because, as Hoopvel said, you cannot actually colonize a people completely unless you first destroy their culture. So when the whites come with their culture and make us feel inferior, it is no accident. It is a way of making us lose confidence in ourselves, in our institutions, in our history, in our identity, in our everything, even in the way we live. So when they destroy that foundation, and so for a sensitive, dominated area, the tendency is to start agitating, to start writing and saying, as Achebe said, that I will be very satisfied if my novels, especially those set in the past, do no more than teach our Africans that their past was not a dark area. It had its own normal advantages. That statement is very important. So that is the idea, that is the battle at that level. And then you get to make your people to begin to see sense in their own stories, in their own struggles, in their own history, in their family system, in the way they dress, in the way they spoke, in their culture, in their identity. You start from there. Then the political flank continue to hold meetings and agitate and call for conferences and all of that. Then independence comes. So when independence comes, the post-colonial struggle continues without the hyphen. When it continues without the hyphen, the writers and the critics continue to question what is happening, and they continue to do so in tandem and in unison with the political class. The political class is protective of the creative writing, the cultural production industry. Even if that industry insults them, they tolerate you and you carry you on. And they carry the intellectual war and give you the result. And you use the result to argue for your continuation as an independent state. This is what happens in a truly independent country. But in Nigeria, this is a question that anyone here can answer. I do not know whether we have to call ourselves a post-colonial or a neo-colonial state. I feel that Chinua Achebe, all those writers, the political class, struggle for independence. When independence came, we lost it on arrival. And when we lost it on arrival, what happened should not be post-colonial study, because there's no continuation of the agitation of the education of the Nigerian and the African about this condition. What happens is that the condition became very neo-colonial. So our writing, our studies should leave that title post-colonial alone and start talking of post-colonial with a hyphen, which means that you are studying the society from the time of independent Israelites, as our writers are criticizing government, as our writers are intellectual, are questioning activities of government, and they are like, it's not a battle between the intellectual class and the political class. Whereas in a truly post-colonial society, the two work together to achieve independence, to make independence meaningful for the town, for everybody. This is the situation. So when you find, when I say how really post-colonial, the second post-colonial is in quotation mark because I do not believe in it. I don't believe that we are doing the right thing when we study a neo-colonial society and we call it post-colonial. That is why I put that one in quotation marks, because I know I don't believe in it. I think that goes for an explanation of both the title and the key concept. Now, my things with English, I will not run through. I said at the outset that when you are introduced as a student of English, the expectation is that you speak without mistakes, you pronounce English distinctly, you write without errors. So the few errors I've noticed among us, this one is just like, this is a meeting of town and down, so we can benefit. I hear us listening severally, as if it was a synonym several times. The two words are different. If I say that I've warned you several times, it's not the same thing as saying I've warned you severally. Severally is derived from the verb sever, cut, divide. So if I say I've done it severally, it means I've done it distinctly, differently, separately. It does not mean that I've done it several times, but I hear us using severally here. So I thought we should just take note of it. Then fully well and full well. The right expression is full well, not fully well. Then upliftment, I hear even our television station, sometimes they say upliftment. Upliftment does not exist as a noun. It is uplift and uplift. Uplift is a verb. I am going to do all I can to ensure that the uplift of this university. He has done everything to uplift, that is the verb. So uplift is a noun, uplift is a verb. I hear people talk of trickish, and the right expression is tricky. They congratulate, I've received quite a lot. They congratulate you for your, no, it's congratulate you on. Then, this is another one, uninterested and disinterested. If I am uninterested in a thing, it means I have no interest in it. If I'm disinterested, that means I'm impartial. I am impartial. I say disinterested party. Yeah. Then we have senior, junior, and other. Senior is correct, but only in the sense of position, rank, and not age. My elder brother, then my senior colleague, then my younger brother, and then my junior colleague. Then we also have you and I. Those ones are simple. I think that has to do with culture. It's not always I and you, but you and I. Then we must notice sometimes and sometimes. I noticed this in writings. Sometimes a particular time, either in the past or in the future. Sometime last year you said something to me and I didn't understand it. Well, conditionally, sometimes we make mistakes. Then adopted, this is another one. I hear say, oh, my adopted child. No, it's adoptive child. If you say adopted child, it has if you say my adopted child, it could mean it's ambiguous. It could mean the child I gave birth to that someone else has adopted. And it can also mean someone else's child that I have adopted. So the right expression is my adoptive child. And of course, talkative is an adjective, not a noun. We don't say it's the talkative. Talkative, you can be, it's correct to say it's very talkative. Joseph Ushie is so talkative that when he started, people were coming for his lecture. They thought he was going to keep them for so long. So that is talkative. Then you have things like, well, let me leave that one. Names, I have names. I hear recently people, my names are, no. My name is Joseph Akawu Ushie. There is a sense in which you can say my names are. If I say my name is Joseph Akawu Ushie, and then I have seen someone here who doesn't call me that, he calls me Akawu the Great. I can also say, yeah, the immediate past DC of Vinegar, my friend and brother. He doesn't ever call me Joseph Akawu Ushie, except he calls me Akawu the Great. And I don't call him Professor Zana, it won't be Akwa, I call him Zapito. So we can say my names are Zana, Akwa, and Zapito. My names are Joseph Ushie and Akawu the Great. So, now we have heads of department. Now it's mostly Americans that prefer these heads of departments. In this university, I often find heads of departments. British English, which we follow, uses heads of department. I don't want to go into the technicalities of the structure because it's going to take us some time, like prepositional phrase guided by head now. Then color television set and color. The second one is right. Color TV set is the more appropriate one, because if you say color television, it means that this is my television set that someone has used color. Yes. Yeah. Then dialects of English. Yeah. Well, dialects of English. Let's read that one. Pronunciation and spelling. Pronunciation and spelling. This is just to give us these last three dialects of English. We must recognize that the English language has several dialects. So do not be ashamed. Unless you want to be ashamed of your identity, use your Nigerian dialect, your own English, but make sure that you use those ones that are internationally intelligible. The pronunciation and spelling, pluralization is one. Most of us know that the word information does not have most of us know, but when we actually use, we say, I gave him an information. When you say, I gave him an information, it's the same as saying, almost like saying, I gave him informations. Because information is not countable, therefore, you will not use an information. I gave him a piece of information, I gave him some information. Yeah, that is just in a typical post-colonial society, English expressions in other languages which do not align with the sensibilities and sensitivities of the people are usually rejected, so that the values and cultures of the former colony do not become cannibalized by foreign words. A typical example is the word sorry. You see, if as I'm talking, I fall off or something happens to me, you say sorry, it's a pity. Because if you say sorry, it will be suggested that you are responsible for what happened. So I don't subscribe to that. That doesn't align with my thinking, my culture as an African. I will tell you sorry. But if I'm writing an exam to pass, I will use it's a pity. So sometimes in pronunciation of words, we pronounce them in a way that we must try to be as British as possible. But we forget something. In a typical post-colonial society like America, Americans use English. They were English people. But they don't keep to those rules. Otherwise, they will not be pronouncing schedule as schedule. The British pronounce that word as schedule. And then when the language got to America, and the Americans started to pronounce it as schedule, and the British laughed at them. They said, why are you laughing at us? You told us to spell SCHOOL as school. Now we have another SCH. We must also pronounce it as schedule. If you want us to pronounce it as schedule, then you must go back to tell us to pronounce SCHOOL as shoe. So that is why we now have the distinct American variety of English, which is different from the one they got from Britain. So we also, as Nigerians, if we are truly independent people, we must know the one that when we are in London, when we are in US, we use the one they will understand. Then when we are talking with one another, we use the one that will really reflect the way of our way of life. We must know that a language reflects the culture of the speakers. So we have some terms in our indigenous languages that have no equivalence in English, just because our cultures are different. So you don't have to fall. If you find one that does not have its exact replica, please use your indigenous word. And if the need arises, give a footnote to explain it. That is how you can be a truly post-colonial independent user of the modern language. Now, I have in the main paper itself, there are other things, the continuation, which came from the first, one of the earliest scholarly things I did about 1980 something or so. So you find those other things. It has things like Venn diagrams which guide reasoning borrowed from philosophy. Now, this is what you meet when this is what you get when you meet somebody who read English. That is usage. But English is more than that. Language is more than that. You find in the Bible book of Judges, chapter 12, verse 5, the story of the Gileadites and the Ephraimites. Just because the Ephraimites would not pronounce one, not the whole word, one phoneme, and sh in Shibolet. It caused the death of 42,000 of them. They were escaping. And when they escape, they will say, like, I am from Betty. And then I know that our neighbor Steve, they call this word like this. They tell me, if you say you are a chief man, pronounce this word, and I will pronounce it, and the S or the sh will show that I cannot. And then they will now know from that single phoneme that I am only telling lies, I am not thief, and I will be killed. So because of one phoneme, my vice chancellor said, 42,000 people lost their lives. So we also have Tower of Babel, where God said, now that these people are speaking one language, if we don't go down and confuse their language, there's nothing they cannot achieve. So let us go down and confound their language so that we stop them from developing. So what that means is that if you speak the same language, if you speak the same language, there is likely to be progress development. You can achieve so much. Now, we also have some examples. Alex Haley, as you know, was one of the descendants of the slaves who traced his roots back to Africa, to the Gambia, and he wrote a book called Roots, in which he reports that his ancestor spoke of how they used to survive only through the use of language. Sometimes they will use a certain term, and then all of them will understand, and they will know that this is what we have to do to protect ourselves. So you see, that's how language can be important. Then we also have language as a marker of identity. Very briefly, Hopi, they have, it's a unique area, it's a unique society. So that if you are here in this area, your language is a part of your identity. The Inuit, they live in, they are among the Eskimos, they are a subgroup of the Eskimos. Their area is so cold that the ice, which we don't even have here, is a reality of the environment. So while here we know of ice, I don't think we have a clear word for ice in my language. They have 4 different words for ice, showing, so that becomes a part of the identity. Then we also have some people, well, let me not go with more examples. Another group who believe that anything that flies, no. Okay, let me continue. I don't think your time is correct. Yes. So we have, this one, let me just tell us. You know why we have beef, cow, whatever in English today, that distinction. It became a status marker. It's a social status marker. There was a time that the people who spoke French dominated Britain. So if you spoke French, you were a superior person. If you spoke English, you were an ordinary person. And so it was the English-speaking people that took the cows to the field. So when they came back, they called the cow by their own English tongue. But when the animal was slaughtered and served, the French laws called it in their own language. That's why you have the name of the same animal when it is alive. I mean, the name of the different animal when it is alive and when it is served. It is served as meat. I'll just mention the V and skip the other one. That one is very important to me because it came from my experience in primary 4. I wrote an exam. It was an objective exam. And the question was, the dash is the head of the family. And the options were father, mother, grandfather, uncle, and so on and so forth. And then I chose grandfather. Then I was much wrong. I was so pained that I felt that question. And I continued to think about it even while I became a lecturer here. And it was only about 10, 15 years ago that I now saw why. The reason was that I came from a background that recognized that followed extended family system. And I was now being taught the nuclear family system. So in my own culture, when I was a child, my uncle, my father's eldest brother, was the one we recognized as father, and we called him the equivalent of head of family, and not my father. As far as my father was concerned, we all called him by his name, Ushie. We called our mother by her name. That was our culture. Yes, today there's only one family in the whole of Odogudu that still practices it. The man you call Abuba was like my father, or the short form was Abba. In Bendi is Abuba, in Bete is Abuba. Then the short form was Abba. Today we have Ada and Adida. The man was the head of the family. He was not necessarily your biological father. He was the head of the extended family. So we were now forced, my Sunday school teacher put a stone on my back for calling my father by his name. And to me it was strange. So I was forced to now call him Papa and then to call my mother Mama. Then my older sibling, being too old for that, they escaped. So they continued to call our parents by their names. So it was later that I saw that process was not an idle thing. It was a way of transition from a nuclear, an extended family system to a nuclear one. These days, if you have a little child, 19, he does some silly business with a girl and a child comes out. The child says, Daddy, Mommy, sometimes Mom, see Mommy. And even if the father or grandfather is alive, they only call him grandpa, grandma, So everybody now is a father, is a dad, daddy, mommy. So that is what I now wrote that paper. It's one of the most circulated papers published in Asia and several other places. I will skip the other one because now I move to linguistics. I will be very simple, very brief. This one came from why linguistics, because I do what we call transdisciplinary research. What is in vogue actually is multidisciplinary research, which means you bring your method, research method, I bring my method, you work on something and arrive at the result. Transdisciplinary is a network. It means we merge our methods and then we research and we have an outcome. So I have used that. That is why you see me in linguistics too, and you see me up to history, you see me up to other disciplines. In linguistics, something happened. My little brother, I think he's here, he came to live with me. He wasn't literate yet. So whenever I told him, go and buy envelope, he would say, Papa, you say envelope. I would say, no, I said envelope. So at the point, I now started thinking, why is he incapable of pronouncing the V in envelope? And then I come from a language cluster that is very peculiar, the Bendi cluster. That is where you have dialects that almost every day, one language is becoming one dialect becoming a language, and that is the cluster that has a unique experience in the whole world, where male children speak differently from female children in one situation. It's in my language cluster. Yeah, if you have children, the male children will speak a different dialect from the female dialect in the same family, but they understand. So I decided to check because we have the oldest, some of the oldest Bantu words. I now discovered this unique thing that a V sound can become P, can become W. So you have V, like Va in Tiv means come. Ve in Igra means come. B in Bandi is on, B in Bete is on, B in Nokora is on, Va in Til is on. Egila will say then, Ejagam they will say back, Yoruba it becomes W1. In Ibom is Bia, in Nupe it is B, in Utuban is B, in Akwa Ghana is Ba, in Twi is Ghana is Ba, in Ewe Ghana is Ba, so on and so forth. I now discover that. And then in Swahili you have Watu. That is the same thing becoming B and Watu. Then in Bantu is Bantu. So I felt that this should help us to those in linguistics, they can develop this to find out in the relation of the Proto-Bantu form. There's another thing I discovered, close relationship between my mother tongue and Anang Efik people. Permit me to use this because from a linguistic point of view, these are all one language, different dialects of one. We have what we call cognates. I've listed them. They are not going to list them for reasons of time. So that you find so many things that those are cognates, meaning that they are indicators that these languages were once one, not too far in history. So that when some of us are saying we came from Israel, others are saying we came from this, we all came from this linguistic evidence, we are one. And this covers several other Nigerian languages. Yeah, this is counting. I don't know if we had time, I would have asked somebody to do it, but you can see, Iken, Ket, Ife, Iba, Iti, Ita, Inda, Iman, Idiom, Ethiopia. Yes, and so on and so forth. So if we are to go into scholarship and develop, you are going to see how these things can show us as one people. Yes, language as a fossil of history. This is very interesting. One, if we have Betopani speakers here, let me inform us that as of June 10 last year, I was able, through the use of just one word, to confirm that our ancestors immigrated from the Congo Basin. And that one word is Bongo, which means a very far distant place that you cannot contemplate going back to. So it is a part of our language today. So that if I send you and you keep long, you don't come back, I will ask you, was it Bongo I sent you to? And now, or if you want to send me and I want to show you that I'm very loyal, I will tell you, even if you are sending me to Bongo, I will go. So by June 10 last year, I spoke with a Congolese linguist who confirmed that Bongo can stand for Congo. So it means that our ancestors left that place and left with that word. The other one is very interesting too, the word Kaiso. Some of us don't know. The music called Calypso, this is where it came from. This music came from Akwa, Calabar Cross River Axis. That's the origin. And if you allow your language to pass into extinction, you will lose your claim to that music, because it is only this word Kaiso that has continued to show. So if you look up the word Calypso in any good dictionary, you will see it towards the end. They will say the dance is of West African origin, but the real thing is an individual African word. How it happened was that the slaves had a way, these things like carnival, they would organize in groups. So during occasion like we have this event, they will all come out group by group and they will perform. If your performance is very good, very, very good, like not like my own that I'm being told to if your performance is very good and you want to leave the stage, the audience will shout, no, Kaiso, Kaiso, Kaiso. They will shout, that means go on, continue, carry on. They will shout Kaiso. And that was how Kaiso became the original name for Calypso, until the whites, for whatever reason, changed it to Calypso. Vice Chancellor, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry, I didn't want to. Now, literature, I'll be very brief. Literature has two components. One, in Africa we have the African oral literature, which we all know about. Our songs, our stories, our proverbs, and all of that. We also have the modern literature, which the white brought. Basically, the two are doing the same thing, but there are some differences. The African oral literature was the main thing that guided humanity. It was the thing that shaped our morality. So let me using my own culture, which I'm very familiar with. We had folk tales. The folk tales did exactly what literature is doing today, if not even more. Because there was the urgency, there was immediacy. The stories that told, the songs that produced, and you heard it. And the impact was immediate. For instance, we now have till today what we call abandoned child. It was in our stories. That is one of the stories there. When you people more, when the bad woman who abandoned her child, I will simply go on. I won't tell us, I won't bother us about the story, but let me sing the song. Now, the song is the bad woman who abandoned her child on a heap of soldier ants, who does not appreciate the trouble of getting a child. Oh, mother, when you gave this child this treatment, we are not thinking of the child as a child of a tree or of a child of a human being. So that is the essence of the song. Permit us to enjoy it a little. That is one of the two cultural groups I have formed, and I asked them to perform the song. I'm really sorry, but we have thank you very much. This is the second group. We have the group I had to resurrect because see, all this talk about the destruction of society, the moral things, this literature, this song, the traditional marriage song were full of that. Let me use the word, a bit insult. If you stole, be sure that the next marriage, what you did will appear in the form of a song that will ridicule you. If you are even lazy, if you treated your wife badly, all of those vices, none will miss these women when they meet, and they will say and finish you. This one that I picked is the story of a man. It's literally from my village. He died about 10 years or less ago. He was one of those early people that they used to inoculate. They would immunization, you call it now. So he went to school and he was like an elite. So he came to the village, and in the process he impregnated a girl that not married, and the pregnancy brought forth a child, and she didn't honor. So the women had to take him up in a song. This is the song. The names here are not fake. The names here, he was almost like a brother, elder brother. If you hear Ati, that was his name. He called in the song, you hear he had two names. One was Ati, one was Stefanus. So I'm simply playing the song, and the song is saying, Ati, you have killed somebody's child. I think you have killed somebody's child. How come the little needle that should only perch on the skin has now penetrated into the belly? You get the image of the needle. How come the needle that should rest only on the skin has now traveled into the womb? More or less. So this is performed again. They are laughing at him. They are making a mockery of him. In her high, that's yes. Chairman and Vice Chancellor, the same culture reflects in Akwa State. I found this in my reading of an Ethiopian village boy, and he said, in the day, that is a song by women criticizing a man. He said, in the day you speak to me harshly, in the night you tease me with sweet names. You will tease me in futility till daybreak. You have not bought me a new dress for years. You only know how to tease me at night. You will tease me in futility till daybreak. You will tease me in futility till daybreak. You will tease me in futility till daybreak. That is what is the genre of music called a prakata. Yeah, so you see, we also have the third category, social group songs. Our women play for our society what the so-called Abasi women did, fighting injustice. So when the independence came in 1960, and the horrible tax regime that happened to our fathers, it was a very horrible experience. The women responded in a song, and the song is, independence, you have come, but you have not come for everybody. You have come for the rich. You have not come for everybody, you have come for the rich and the affluent. As for we, the ordinary people, our benefit from independence is heavy taxation. So that I am a mother in labor as I am now. I hear that this child that I'm about to beget has already been assessed for payment of tax. So that is the song now. Independence is again. Ladies and gentlemen, I am happy that this lecture is taking place in July, when tax 6 have remained a reality of our world. Tax value added tax to be reviewed and reassessed and reviewed. So that song that was produced soon after independence remains relevant. This is why I feel that African oral literature was very, very helpful in checking society. We didn't have only this. I'm not going to bother us with the others. We had Shigolomo. Shigolomo was the favorite of the physically challenged. If you are physically challenged, you produce it, and I think the equivalent of the chorus, what they call the chorus. So you sing about your condition. We had Udian. Udian was the favorite of those who had problem with marriage, love relationship. So they would sing and in the songs were there. Then we had more songs. We had legend, we had festival, we had prophet, we had the tongue. The tongue is a group I revived. They will perform this evening in this town. After this lecture, they are out there. The tongue, that is, the tongue it had a medicinal aspect, medical component, in the sense that apart from entertaining, it was played in the night, and when it was played in the night, it brought benevolent spirits, and so the diviner would simply hand over to those spirits difficult health problems, especially those mental problems that had to do with spirit to them, and the person will be healed that night. So we have modern African literature. I will be very brief, which says, let us look at George Gordon. In his inaugural lecture, he said, England is sick and English literature must save it. The churches, as I understand, having failed and social remedies being slow, English literature has now a triple function. Still, I suppose, to delight and instruct us, but also and above all, to save our souls and heal the state. So this, we have others, who again said it is his literature that helped him to show his people that they were being exploited. And then we have Ugi Wadiogo, who says a similar thing. Then we have, this is from the NUC, the brochure for literature. Then we have Oshundari, who also argued that the writer, the king knows this, and that is, for a real writer has no alternative to being in constant conflict with oppression. Like the prophet of the Old Testament, he is the guilty conscience of the king. His words nagging, that is much of what literature is all about. And this is why the literary writer is always in conflict with the government in a neo-colonial setting. And if it is not in a neo-colonial setting, he is a friend of government, as you find in Finland, where Elias Lonoros wrote his book, The Kalevala, and the state welcomed him. And every 25th of February, that book is nationally celebrated. Then you also have situations where in several other countries, about independence, that's in the poem. I don't need to read it. It's in one of my collections so that I can save that. Then this is another poem where I talked about our situation. They called neo-colonial setting. And then here Achebe says something. He said, the trouble with Nigeria is simply ascribing a failure of leadership. There's nothing basically wrong with the Nigerian land of climate or water or air or anything else. The Nigerian problem is the unwillingness or inability of its leaders to rise to the responsibility to the challenge of personal example, which are the hallmarks of true leadership. I disagree slightly with Achebe. For one, we, the followership too, are to blame. Mahatma Gandhi says that no one can be oppressed unless you cooperate with your oppressor. If you don't cooperate, nobody will be able to suppress you. We produce these songs. The politician is a very wise person. He knows the values of these songs. He uses them in his election campaign. He wins. He comes back. When the money is still in his hands, he receives these songs. When he leaves office, the same song had turned negative against him. He is put negatively in the next song. And the question is, why don't we, our followers, take a firm stand against these things, reject the money, reject everything, support with our songs only those whose credibility we are sure of, those whose records we are sure of. You know, so I don't want us to go to those places like post-colonial examples of truly post-colonial societies like Britain, USA, Finland, Malaysia, Singapore. Britain, some of us don't know, it's a post-colonial society. Britain was more colonized than Nigeria. Rome colonized her for 400 years. Then the Vikings came in, colonized her for 25 years, and left. The Anglo-speaking, the French-speaking Normans colonized her for another 200 years. But she emerged. Today, she is a strong society. USA, of course, we know, was a colony of Britain, and she emerged to be greater than Britain. Finland was colonized by Sweden for 600 years, and Russia took over and colonized her for another 100 years. Today, she has the highest, best quality of education in the world. No need going into my poem. No need. Criticism. And again, this is an area I've just walked past. Criticism is, when you talk of theory, critical theories, they emerge from your observation of the experience of the people. After you have observed, you draw inferences. After inferences, you go to hypothesis. After hypothesis, you now go to theory. So that the theory that emerges is a clear representation of the realities of the people. But what do? We stay here, one theory comes up in Europe, and we struggle to showcase ourselves so that our papers are accepted, and then we adopt the theory and place it on top of our situation. That is why we can talk of post-colonial criticism without the hyphen in a neo-colonial society. It's just like someone who have been dressed in the shoes of the clothes of a giant. It doesn't fit. Then the other one, other theory we talk of modernism. Modernism is a response to Europe following the Industrial Revolution. And then from there, now when we talk of modernism, we have even gone up to postmodernism. And yet we are not, as far as I'm concerned, yet modernized. And yet our theory has adopted modernism. It is now gone on with postmodernism because Europe and America are following those terms. The only theory, as far as I know, that fits is feminism, because it has been domesticated in Nigeria. So you have about 6 different sub-theories of feminism in Nigeria, and very Nigerian. I made that statement about us submersion. To mislabel is to misidentify, and to misidentify is the first step towards misleading. So when you don't label what you are doing properly, you now continue to have fairly used clothes, fairly used shoes, fairly used ideas, fairly used theories, all on your body that is not fairly used. Let me read just this. This is a very short one. That is, each day, tropical neighbors, each day, the leaves of tropical forest giants open to receive the sun's lobes. Each day, the leaves of tropical forest giants open to receive the sky's showers. But beneath each canopy of each tropical forest, forestry, there are shriveled shrubs, gasping for the storms of rain from the trees above, and people Now, we are talking of inequality here in the same land. So how can we be talking of a theory that does not recognize this inequality? And then finally, the summational poem. Usually, since I started writing, journalists and critics will ask me, are you a Marxist? Are you this? Are you that? And I now have to write that poem. I call it easy. And I said, ask me not whether I'm for the left or for the right. Because I need neither left nor right to know when my neighbor is hungry, ill, or naked. Before the isms came, I was human. Yeah, the final of this is culture. Under culture, I put it under the sentence fragment and African culture, the colonialist and neo-colonialist. We have these sentences. He enjoys flowers and shrubs, which help screen him from the street. Raymond began that one, first one has a fragment. The second one, Raymond began to tap out the rhythm. First, second one also a fragment. And then in the context of this lecture, we will subsume another category of incomplete sentences under fragments, just for the ease of the discussion. This is the category known as elliptical sentences. For example, let's get the sentences. Look at the sentences. It's one. I think that's something. Let's just take three. A student cannot be a sentence. He went to the bank. I love Shoenga more than Shakespeare. I am coming. Now, if you look at this one, these sentences, there's something wrong with them. A teacher will tell you a student is not a sentence. And someone will tell you he went to the bank. And someone will tell you I love Shoenga more than Shakespeare is ambiguous. And when I say, this is I'm coming, somebody who knows English very well will ridicule me by saying, but you are going. And when the person ridicules me, the person doesn't know one thing, namely that I am correct. So why am I correct? I am correct because communication has to do with your eyes, your tone, and everything about you. So my vice chancellor is seeing me walking away. He does not need that information. He already has that information. He knows I am way away. So I don't need to tell him I am way away. The only thing he does not know is the assurance that although he has seen me going away, I will be back. So I will tell him, sir, I'm coming. And I'm right. Because that is what the content is. Number 5. If you say I love Shoenga more than Shakespeare, it can mean two things. I love Shoenga more than Shakespeare loves him. I love Shoenga more than I love Shakespeare. Then you have the other one, he went to the bank. It's ambiguous. You can have bank of a river, bank where you keep your money. Now, but if then you have the other one, a student. If I say, excuse me, sir, someone wants to see you, and say who? Someone is at the door to see you, say who? A student. In that context, the now phrase a student is correct, but the context has been provided. In the case, the fourth sentence, he went to the bank. If you live near a river in a rural area where there is no institution called bank, and he says he went to the bank, the context will give us the meaning that you have only gone to the bank of a river. And then I love Shoenga more than Shakespeare. Depending on where you make it, it will be clear to people. Then I am coming, I've already explained. Now, this is what happened to us. when the whites came. The whites came, saw only the surfaces, the fragments of our sentences of our lives, and they based their conclusions on them that our lives, our cultures, our institutions were meaningless because they didn't have the knowledge of the background. So when they look at our names, they made us to change our beautiful names. There is Upon, Edet Upon. He was a lecturer here. He has a 300 and something page book on the Biblical names alone. And if you read that book, it has almost all the biblical wisdom you can think of. The philosophy, so much is in that book. So beautiful, under culture. And you want me to throw away these names because I am now a white man or whatever. And then we have popular culture and indigenous institutions. We have all of them. They will tell us, oh, we were acephalous, we had no system of government. It is not true. We had a system of government before they came. They will call us acephalous societies that have no head. The Ibom language has one beautiful proverb that I'm always fond of. I may not say it in the video, but I know the English translation. It says, every infant has his own crown. Every infant has his own crown. That statement, that proverb expresses the egalitarianism of the people. It shows that, look, I have my own territory, my own domain. I cannot be brought under your own control. Do you understand? That crown may not necessarily be a family. It may be a village. It may be a group of villages. And so that is our own crown. That is our own influence with his own crown. So do not think, so when you tell us that we don't have big empires like the Western people have, it is not true. We had our own system. We had sports. In my own culture, we have two types of wrestling. We have Ibom, which is inside water. We wrestle inside water. Then we have Ukaliyogo, which you wrestle on dry land. And then with rules. We had diplomatic relations. Sorry. Thank you. It's so kind. You still allowed me 5 minutes. That is the town. If you watch, you will see me inside, but probably we will pass by it. I brought this. These are the children. is available, one of the two that I formed. So you can see my steps. I'm sure you saw me. So the thing is that the other aspects, I'm very sorry, we have to just we are told, this is very important. This is very, very important. And it affects our thinking about science, technology, and the rest of it in Africa. Look, I have the conviction that Africa had a superior science and technology to the one that the West brought. Because I didn't know this until my Sunday school teacher in the village, he was an elderly man, very old man, who had known all about our culture before he became a Christian. And as a Christian, he was true and true a Christian. He was the one who, when he saw I was interested in our history, he called me and said, my son, I want you to understand that there's a difference between witchcraft and mysticism. This is very, very important. Witchcraft is evil, and that is why I have become a Christian. Science, technology, mysticism, and the rest of it in Africa. That's what I have the conviction that Africa had a superior science and technology. He pointed to a rock in my community. You will see the picture very soon. He said that rock was not always there. It was formed overnight. Because that rock is at the boundary between my village and the next village. And beneath the rock was a salt well. So the two villages were fighting. And then one day the fight were to escalate into full-blown war. And they came armed. But when they got there, they found that rock. Until today, if you go to my village, any day you go, ask for Akwa. It's a section of the village. They will take you to that place and tell you this is the area. So he now went on to tell me a whole lot of stories. And then I went on recently about the Russian in my Ghana, the first nation to win that wrote about Africa. And we felt overnight the greatness of Africa. At the boundary between my village and the next village. Now, and if you just inform, I never was in salt well. So if you just one of my friends, and one day they find to it, when they started to form and they came and they found African mysticism. And today, if you go to my village, any day you may ask for Akwa as a section of the village, they will take you to that place and tell you this is the area. And I asked him not to tell me he was serious. And then I went on presently. So by the Russian also they didn't go out to Asia conferences lately. POSTCOLONIAL, I see that mysticism is listed as a topic and beautiful papers are presented. And this is the foundation of the deep thinking that evolves into science. And if you mix it with witchcraft, evil things, it dies. So this is the poem by Tegore, and he says, Africa, there in your inmost recesses, you gather the mysteries of the incomprehensible and unravel the riddle of earth, sky, and water. The magic of nature, beyond the ken of human eye, was maturing his message beneath your consciousness. This is the rock. You will agree that that rock, by 1820, that rock was not in that area. It was not there because my people had not. That is the rock. Beneath that rock, this side is my village. The other side is just our neighboring village. They were fighting here and harming each other. And then this morning they came armed to now have a full war. And they came and found that rock, that it sealed up the place. So we call the whole area the salt well area till today. And now I I would have left out a whole lot of other things, even in medicine, mysticism in medicine, history. Vice Chancellor, sir, as I said earlier, I use the literary and linguistic method to study history. And I discovered I participated in 3 international conferences in history. Ghana, 2007, where they had international conference to mark 200 years of the abolition of slave trade. And I was back in Ghana for another international conference on history. I was in Cameroon, and then I have attended conferences, history-based conferences in this part of the papers presented at here. But my takeaway from this is that now what I have history that one of other things, even in medicine, domestic slavery in Africa is one of the transatlantic history. And of course, as I said earlier, I use the Atlantic slavery method generally for the whole history. And I discovered I participated in spite of the distance of all these cross-state Atlantic 2000 from this we are also in that international context of 200 years of the abolition and I was bound by that international 1850s. I was in the Nigerian African discoveries and conferences you have Kennedy, you have Mubarak, you have Ayandele, you have Uya, you have Kokoina of our own University of Ibom, you have David Iwa. David Iwa was supposed to be here. If he had been here, I would have requested through you, sir, for him to stand. He recently brought out a publication that has proved the fraud in European history. The story about Mary Slessor. The truth is that Mary Slessor did not abolish the killing of twins in Calabar. He played no role. The missionaries that did that job arrived in Calabar 2 years before Mary Slessor was born. And the abolition of the killing of twins itself took place many years before Mary Slessor came. And your honesty even had to arrange that. So that is one thing. Then we have several other cases. Yeah. So then let's take this point. My takeaway is from history is that one, slavery has not stopped. That is why a Nigerian would come out of prison to become president of the country, but would do nothing to change the horrible conditions of the nation's prisons that they have endured and left behind. That is why a professor will become a minister of education and will turn his back on the suffocating system he has left behind. That is why some professors will become vice chancellors and will start playing in politics with the promotions of their colleagues. That is why a professor will be elected dean of a faculty and he will drag his feet over the promotion of his colleagues. That is why some lecturers and other members of staff who were once students will be frustrating students once they have become teachers and not. That is also why I will forever appreciate the contributions of the late Professor Babatunde Faforo, former Minister of Education, who did not turn his back on his colleagues, and the present Minister, Professor Tahir Mama, who has so far not turned his back on the Nigerian university system. It is for the same reason that I commend eternally the present Vice Chancellor of my university, Professor Nyando Ndaye, and some of his predecessors for the huge harvest of promotions the staff of the university I don't need to go into education. I just want saying that is also why there was this story in the book Professor Babatunde Cross, where a young boy asked his father, who was the president of the society, but who was chief or the rich or wizard. And the father said there was the society was afflicted and by a particular terrible rule. And the society decided to bring the witch doctor to arrest the thief. The man brought his medicine things, kept them, in the hope that the following day he was going to work. In the night, the thief stole the items. Therefore, rendering the witch doctor, the medicine man, impotent. What that means is that the thief is the most terrible person in the world. The medicine man tried several times and the thief kept stealing his items. So his effort failed, and then the medicine man was forced to relocate from the society, from the community. That painfully is the case with education in Nigeria today. The medicine man's tools, which are education, have continually been stolen by the thief. And today, either the medicine is Japan, while either the other sectors of the economy are continuing abroad, while the thief and some of the collaborators are continuing to ravage the society. That is the summary of the education. This is the little that's this is the little I have done. Yeah. So finally, sir, as I said earlier, a lecturer's job has three components. You teach, which is what every teacher does. You conduct research, and then you publish the outcomes. Then above all, you involve yourself in community service. All I've done is about teaching, research, and all of that. Then how about, you have also seen a bit of the impact of my community service in the culture and in the city. There's an aspect that is left, a question of my teaching experience. I have no way of assessing myself on that because this is always part of what is used to make us either professors or not. How I'm going to do it, Vice Chancellor, sir, is very simply so that to save time, is to say that here in this gathering I have the very first student that I supervise as a university lecturer. He is alive, healthy and happy and still in the education system. If he is here, will you please stand up, Dr. Nyasha in this university. Yeah, this remains standing. I also have, as at last year, some of my students, about 3 of them became deputy vice chancellors of federal universities. I don't know, one was here, you heard him, but I don't think any of them is here. Then I also have had some students who first scored A's in my marking. Professor is here, I wasn't anticipating advice on this, and I had to consult him, I had to consult him, and I had to ask him. So they and I said, when I was people as a professor. So there's the note that they are here. One is, so those two students, I don't think they are here. I think one is the local one. I think the secretary will come in of the committee. The one that did this university, he was the one that did this university. I have several of them. So who are registrars? I don't know who are registrars. I have had several of them who are registrars. I don't know who became registrars. If you are eligible to do and you are registrar, please kindly stand up to be appreciated. And above all, you must help me applaud this one very specially, because he is the essence of the beauty in my teaching career. The very first student of mine to become a full, substantive vice president of the university. Kindly allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to applaud our one and only vice president, Professor Nwaniba. If I had anything to do with you as a student, please kindly stand up and join me. Thank you very much. This is the teaching aspect of my life. In addition to whatever else I've done. Thank you. Please kindly sit. And the beautiful thing about the Vice Chancellor is that you people should help me tell him he is no longer my student, he is my boss. He still relates with me as if it was that time, and that tells you how humble a person he is. Humble and respectful. So please, sir, thank you so much. May God continue to bless you and all my former students. Finally, acknowledgement. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I will not go. Please, if I'm not going to go because the names are damn too many and we have taken too much time, but I must recognize Dr. Juice Igor Dongna. He is the representative of University in University. I was the visiting professor there for some years, and I have students from there, and I have students from there, the world, they still relate the world, and then when they heard of this, they decided that the university must come and be part of it. And incidentally, I transformed the role in this collaboration between this university, and that university. And the collaboration was formally signed under the Vice Chancellorship of Professor in May 2014. This yes. So is here. Yes. Is here. The Vice Chancellor. I don't know how to really thank you, but let me start from the beginning. Professor Donald Ekong employed me, and he had one thing, and that was at the end of every year, when we were fewer, he would interact, he would hold a party. My brother and friend, Professor Zana Akawu, is my witness, Efron Johnson. He would hold a party, he would relate with us. We were graduate assistants. He would interact with us and he made us feel wanted. I can never forget him. Professor Eyoko came. He had peculiar problems. He managed the best way he could. And he was the first person who sent me out on staff development. He is late, but please, I am still grateful to him. After him came Professor Fola Lasisi, who sent me out the second time to do the PhD. He was generous at heart, and he was not economical with promotions. He did his best and left. And then after him came Professor Akwa, who I took one basic thing from him: his culture of mentorship. It was very, very outstanding. I noticed it was even before it became VC, we used to talk in Ibom. We were students, he used to visit. And I noticed that he was very much at home with all the colleagues, always looking for opportunities for junior colleagues. So I thank him for that aspect of his life. It was Professor Akawu Ushie that announced my promotion as senior lecturer. And then the late Professor Akwa introduced me to him as someone that could be useful to the system. And it was from that time till today that I've become a member of the convocation subcommittee that handles writing of all kinds of things. So I thank you. And then after him came Professor Comfortable did a whole lot. One, she announced my promotion as associate professor. Two, I became head of department under her tenure. Three, she gave me a whole number of other opportunities, personal and official, and did more to bring me into the system. I am forever grateful to her for all of that. But I was head of department under her. I had a very wonderful relationship. Then Professor Ushie came up. He announced my promotion as professor. He made me vice dean of postgraduate school, and we had a very warm relationship. And then came Professor Nwaniba. It was under him that I became dean. It was under him that my faculty began the movement to this part of the campus. It was under him that my faculty has had the highest number of promotions. And it is under him that I have this rare opportunity of presenting this event. So I thank him and his team. And I thank all the others who have done great things. There are so many other groups. I don't know how I'm going to go on. I think the others will help me with the rest of the recognition, because Professor Akawu, my brother and friend, the former VC of Unica is here. Former VCs are here. Professor Akwa, Professor Comfortable, Professor Ushie, and DVC, former DVCs. I don't know all of them. The Provost College of Education is here. I don't know. Please let me know. I don't think I'm going to be thorough. So the best thing is, this way I'm seeing my wonderful friends, my family, my community. In fact, if you go to my village now, you see only empty houses. The whole community came out. They all came out. My church is here. My community where I live, they called bonding. They kept with me, vigiled with me till this morning. I look at my good friend, Dr. E.T. Abraham. He has done so much. The Vice Chancellor, please permit me to just leave at this point. The others will help me with the rest of the information. And Vice Chancellor, sir, as I said at the outset, that when I went to Unica in 1979, the idea was to read law, but I found myself in English. and I accepted it, and today I have no regrets. 9 years as a teacher of English in this university. Thank you.
The presentation of the lecture plan.
Please take your seat. You will agree with me that this was very much a very brief lecture. Am I right? All right. So that the inaugural lecture will not forget this very brief lecture. On behalf of all of us here, I want to present this to him, Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie. So I will remind him of this very brief lecture.
Thank you. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, I understand the Faculty of Arts has something to present, and also the unbundled faculty from that faculty, I mean the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies. Please, file out for your presentation quickly. Please, Faculty of Arts, your presentation. Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, please. Okay, art is here. Communication and media, I expect you soon.
The Faculty of Arts appreciates you, Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie, and Professor of General Stylistics and Literary Criticism. Department of English, Faculty of Arts, congratulations on your inaugural lecture.
Dean, Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, Professor Peter Esu, will make presentation to the inaugural lecturer. Please take that one away.
My Vice Chancellor, sir, one thing Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie did not say is that it was also in your time that the faculty is sitting as a dean gave birth to another faculty. In the year of our Lord, 2021, something happened in the Faculty of Arts. A pregnant woman of the Faculty of Arts gave birth to a brand new and trending faculty of Communication and Media Studies. And the man who revived the process is none other than my teacher, the Dean of Arts, one man called Joseph, the son of Akawu, the son of Ushie, his son of Stylistics. And today, I don't know where my vice dean is, but the president of our student association, Kamsa, is here, and on behalf of the students, staff, and management of the Faculty of Communication and Media Studies, you deserve this more than ever. Thank you.
Yes, the Omar Bongo University Gabon will do their presentation.
stone, a spiritual stone at Ibom. It's a region that is located in the southern part of Ibom. So it's a stone that is only found there. Okay, and we would like to give you this gift, which is a symbol of the partnership between our university. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the presentation of this done. I request we retire and then to our seat and everyone please get seated. The next item on the agenda is the remarks, comments by the Vice Chancellor. Ladies and gentlemen, no other person has the permission to comment on what the lecturer did except the Vice Chancellor. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir.
Thank you very much. Standing on the existing protocol, let me say that that lecture was not only brief, but very, very interesting. There's no doubt about that. And you can understand why I didn't stop Professor Ushie. I wouldn't have done so as my teacher, my lecturer. Would have been unethical. Maybe would have asked them to withdraw my marks and then maybe send me back to undergraduate studies. So, but seriously, he has given justice to the topic. He has done justice to it. And like I told you, that you definitely will learn one or two things. I'm sure you have learned. You now can agree whether it was real or unreal or artificial. So we want to thank God for the gifts of Professor Ushie to us, the University of Uyo and humanity generally. He has shown that really and truly that he's a scholar. Today, I want to believe that the people of Benin are very happy to have caliber of this institution. And Bandigo generally, Bandigo as a local government is happy to have him as Prof of that place. And that the Cross State is also happy. And that Akwa is also very, very happy. Thank God I did not go for law. I know that lecture would have prolonged if he had been law. So thank God it wasn't law. And the question is, if it was English, it is English, and it was happening. What would have happened if it was a law? Are you with me? So I want to thank God for what God has done for us, and to assure that we continue to promote inaugural lecture in the University of Uyo, as handed over to me by the past Vice Chancellors. And that we continue to give a round of applause because we treat it as a serious matter here. And with that, I want to request, because there are many of you seated there who have joined the league of inaugural lecturers. If you are sure you are there and you are presented, can you please rise and take a bow? Rise, can you rise? Whether here or there, you will take a rise. Wherever you are. All right, let's take a bow. 1, 2, go. Put your hands together for them. 1, 2, go. Put your hands together for them. And finally, 1 and 2, go. Put your hands together for them. Thank you. You can take your seats. You can take your seat. Even if you can't even find your thing, remember that you have to go forward. And that it means, or have been adulterated to be Calypso. Whether you take Calypso as slave war, are you there? Or as music, it is Calypso. Thank God. Let's put our hands together for once again. Now, the 104th Inaugural lecture will come up next month by God's grace, and shall Professor Francis Odo, are you here? Is he here? I spotted him somewhere. Yes. Please, can you take a bow? Yes. He is of the Professor of Real Estate Development. Is of the Department of Estate Management, Faculty of Environmental Studies, and he's a Professor of Real Estate Development Appraiser. And he will speak on the topic Real Estate Development Decision. Sorry, Real Estate Investment Decision. The appraisal pedagogy. Whatever that means, you will know when you come. So I want to encourage you once again. Only tonic of living added value will come up next month, and the man is armed to the team, to the today for good, not to kill. So come around, and you will not be disappointed. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Another round of applause for the Vice Chancellor. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, since it is your lecturer that presented the lecture, and it was a very short one, permit me to take a very short time and recognize his friends and associates who are here. I'll truly do it shortly and make it short as well. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I want to make great recognitions. I want to begin with the managers of this event. Beginning with the Vice Chancellor of this university, who was taught by the lecturer, who made a first class. I'm talking of Professor Nwaniba. Let me recognize the presence of the two Deputy Vice Chancellors of this university, Professor Akawu DVC Administration, Professor Anthony Asian, DVC Academic. And let me recognize the Golden Biro of the University of Uyo, the Secretary to Senate, Mrs. Blossom Eber-Korea. Let me recognize the boss of this institution, Dr. Ibom. Let me recognize the University Librarian, Dr. Mary Bassi. Let me recognize the inaugural lecturer presenter, Professor Asham. Let me recognize the Vice Dean Faculty of Arts, Professor Itoro Michael. I quickly recognize former Vice Chancellor, Professor Hogan Ebo, the grandfather of economics. Let me recognize former Vice Chancellor, Professor Tetfund Ebo, our mother. Let me recognize former Vice Chancellor and his wife, Professor Neferesien San and Dr. Rosemary Messi. Let me quickly recognize former Registrar University of Uyo, Mrs. Eda Omada. I quickly recognize the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Calabar, Professor Zona Akawu. Prof, you're welcome. Let me quickly recognize former Deputy Vice Chancellors of this institution. Professor Charles Uko is in the house. Professor and Mrs. Joseph and Queen Obinaju in the house. I recognize Professor Okon Ansa is in the house. Professor Trenchalibia is in the house. Professor Inyam Budofo, still of the English department, former division academic. Prof, you're welcome. I recognize Professor Anthony Udo, immediate past Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic. Prof, you're welcome. I recognize Honorable Justice Ita Mbaba, Judge of the Federal Court of Appeal, Mbaba OFA, I think it's just left. Let me recognize the pastor of the inaugural lecturer from his church, Reverend Dr. Emmanuel of the Assemblies of God. Your Reverence, welcome. Let me quickly recognize the CMDs at the National Hospital Uyo, Dr. Emmanuel Anabo. I recognize the Director of Works. There has been no interruption today. Dr. Otobasi answer. Thank you very much for this wonderful work. I recognize the Provost of College of Education and his spouse, Professor Daniel Udon. I saw your wife. Yes, okay. Let me recognize this toxicologist in our Faculty of Pharmacy, Professor Herbert Babu. Let me recognize quickly a member of council of this university, Mr. Musa Tijani. Okay, let me recognize at this point Professor Emmanuel T.D. of Pharmacy. He was mentioned in the course of the lecture. I recognize Professor Isaac Odo of the Department of Music is there. Let me recognize the HOD Music, Basia Bakman, our Director General Administration, Regina Bat, Director Academic Affairs, Sid Ajibo, Administrator of Business Office, Mr. Dedefia, Professor Innocent Modo is here, Professor Mbombogo is here, Professor Esco of Unical, from Unio to Unical is here. Professor Esco, you are recognized. I quickly recognized Dr. Emmanuel Abraham, the founder and chairman of Board of Trustees, Tetfund University, Mbada. You're welcome, sir. Dr. Donna Yawojosi of Omabonga University, Gabon. We recognize you. I recognize the presence of Professor Onoju, who represents the National President of Academic Staff Union of Universities. Professor Emmanuel Sedeke is represented here. I think he's the zonal coordinator of Calabar Zone. Is not? You're welcome, comrade. I recognize Opeyemi Olajide, ASU boss, you know you. And I want to recognize Professor Edith Peter Aban, a great man of ASU. He's there. He's a mathematician. Let me recognize the Special Assistant to the Akwa State Governor on Media Issues, Dr. Anette Hussein. You're welcome. A Director of Training, Mrs. Faith Emmanuel, you're welcome. We have a permanent secretary in the House. He's of the Ministry of Information and Akwa State. He's equally the international president of Mr. James. James, you're well recognized. The Commissioner for Science and Wonders from our department, that's what we call it. This university is the Honorable Commissioner of Science and Technology, Professor and Dr. Mrs. Stephen Ada, you're welcome. Sir Chief Matayazake, Knight of St. John, he represents His Royal Majesty, the paramount ruler of Obodo Cross River State, and is equally the Special Assistant to the Governor of Cross River State on infrastructure. You are welcome. Let me recognize Professor James Pilaya and Professor Tony Yang, both of the Department of English, University of Calabar. Let me recognize this commissioner who was taught by the lecturer, Honorable Commissioner for Information. He was taught by the lecturer. It's a Vice Chancellor. Permit me to recognize the members of the family of the lecturer. The lecturer has one beautiful daughter, Akawu Ushie. Thank you for coming. We have Akawu Ushie. We have Adile Akawu Ushie. And we have Akwa Akawu Ushie. And we have the one you cannot do without, and we'll come to her last. There is the uncle of the lecturer, Reverend Dan Reverend Ushie. Reverend Ushie came with the wife, and the wife is Deaconess J.T. Ushie. Ushie's uncle is the former commissioner, local government service commissioner. Okay, is the brother, and he said they don't mention during his lecture. Is a former commissioner, local government service commission, and while the wife is the director in the Ministry of Health still in that state. We have Dr. Anashi Abanke, Ushie's first project student. He's the lecturer, Federal College of Education. I want to recognize all the members of Senate of this university. It's not easy to belong to the University Senate. They don't retire, they remain. Even if the service is retired, but the person remains unretired. Mr. Vice Chancellor, permit me to call on members of your Senate to rise and take a bow. Senate, please. Please, a round of applause for Senate members, for professors, deans, faculties, and heads of departments. Thank you very much, Senate, University of Uyo. I want to recognize the special way the lecturer, Professor of General Stylistics and Literary Criticism. He is an international scholar, the chieftaincy holder, first professor of his community, lecturer of lecturers, a man of honesty and integrity. His name is Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie, the 103rd Inaugural lecturer of the University of Akwa. Sorry, right for yes. Behind every successful man, there is a woman. And we want to invite the wife of the lecturer, deceased, Rosalie Akawu Ushie, to please rise. Please don't clap for her, yes. She has assignment to perform. We will first bow to the Senate high power. Look at the Senate. Take a step, bow to the Senate. Now look at the entire audience and take a bow. A round of applause for her. She's very, very successful. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press, we are all recognized within the limits of human error. There is a car key here, and the driver or the owner has not seen the key. And the car is imposingly stationed somewhere. It's a Toyota Corolla car, KUJ 169BH. So if it is yours, you come and get clearance from the internal road safety and get your case. Ladies and gentlemen, may I proceed to invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic for a vote of thanks. Oh, sorry, Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, this list comes from the lecturer. It says, I must recognize the following members of his family. One is the Dean of Student Affairs, UNICA, Professor Tony Eya. Prof, you're welcome. There is Professor Ozioma Oluwene, Ignatius Ajuru, University of Education. There is another one, a representative of the paramount ruler of Obudu, which I recognize, Chief Matthias Ake, KJS. My Lord's Temple, you're welcome. There is Chief Joseph Aji, the clan head of the inaugural lecturer. Your Royal Highness, welcome. There are the general family members that their names were not written down. So if you are from the family of Ushie and your name was not mentioned, please, you are well recognized. The lecturer says, members of Iko Bendi Anna, okay, Iko Bonde Anna, please rise for recognition. I did not say that. I said okay. And the women from the Assemblies of God Church, please rise for recognition. Thank you. There is a man called Engineer Godwin Anake. Engineer, you are welcome. Engineer Anake. And the Obuto Ubodaleko local government people. Please, if you are from that local government, even when it is not well pronounced. Ubani group, okay. They were blue. You're welcome. I can see some men also. You're welcome. I think with that, we have been fed to our lecture. May I invite the Deputy Vice Chancellor Academy for the vote of thanks.
Mr. Vice Chancellor and Chairman of this occasion, our own very dear Professor Nyaudon Dayo. Time is fast spent. Please permit me to stand on the protocol that has been established. Today is a great day, and I cannot begin this appreciation without thanking God for what He has done for Professor Joseph Ushie. 45 years ago, precisely 1979, God intervened in his history. I'm just wondering what would have happened today if he had read law. But God Almighty made him to read English, and today we have seen this great lecture that we have all benefited from. And this is exactly what the very religious songwriter William Cowper wrote in 1773 when he says, God moves in a mysterious ways, his wonders to perform. Professor Ushie, I thank God for you for what God did, that the faculty of law was not ready 45 years ago for you to go into law. Your family may have been disappointed that you didn't read law at the time, but see what we have witnessed today. May all glory be unto God Almighty. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, thank you very much for your love of academic. Thank you for promoting academic. You are making this university very proud of you. So many professors are lined up for the inaugural lecture. And I'm sure for the next 3, 4, 5 years, the line is already filled up. Thank you very much, sir. I also thank the principal officers of the university, the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration, Professor Anyeka Nofyong, the Registrar Secretary to Senate, Mrs. Blossom Okore, the University Librarian, Dr. Mrs. Mary Bassi, and the University Bossa, Dr. Ibom. Thank you very much for always being together to work. Professor Ushie, thank you very much for what you have done today. There is nobody that has not learned something today. It's amazing. It's great. I think it deserves another round of applause. Let me thank you first of all for correcting some of the big mistakes instance, my names are. That is becoming very common. And today, as an authority, you have told us that is not correct. Adopted child and all of that. You've told us about upliftment. You've told us a very important thing. In fact, it's so great to know about Calypso. Many of us have been hearing of Calypso, but we never knew that it actually started from this very ground. Thank you very much, Professor Ushie. We are very grateful that you have shared your extensive research experience on studies of Nigerian cultural heritage with respect to the disconnect between the post-colonial and the realities of new colonialism in Nigeria. Thank you very much, because today we have known the difference between hyphenated post-colonialism and the one that is not hyphenated. Thank you very much for what you have done for us today. We have learned quite a lot, and you've cleared a lot of misunderstanding. And in fact, today, many of us will agree that we have really understood what it means to be independent, and we really need to take that very seriously. Your lecture should be bought by everybody, because we have a lot to learn from it, and that is when things will begin to change in our country, if we truly listen to what you have taught us today, making us know what neo-colonialism is and post-colonialism. Thank you very much. Let me also thank you so very much, Professor Ushie, for the father version, the pastor noster version of our African leader. Very interesting. May I at this time also thank the inaugural lecturer presenter, Professor Ashon C. Ashon. Let me thank the Vice Dean of the Faculty of Arts, Professor Itoro Michael, and all the staff of the Faculty of Arts. This is my faculty, and it is beautiful. So thank all of you for cooperating with Professor Ushie. May I thank all the members of Senate. For want of time, it will not be possible to please mention all of us. Thank you very much, dear senators, for being here. Let me thank the Dean of Deans, Professor Christopher Ekong, and all the deans of faculties, heads of departments, and everyone that has come today. I also thank also the head of department of the Department of English, that is where Professor Ushie belongs, Dr. Maria Helen Eka, for always being very supportive in the department. I have this singular privilege to thank all our former vice chancellors that have made time to be here. Professor, you are very great to have. I've never seen an inaugural lecture with over 4 former vice chancellors, not only from the University of Uyo, but from other universities. So permit me to thank our dear father, Professor Akwa, Professor Comfort, Professor Ademcho Messier, and spouse. I've seen Dr. Mrs. Roslyn is here. Also thank Professor Zana Akwagu. I remember those days in Unicross. I hope you still remember me. I'm very happy that you are here. Please let me thank all those that have come from Unicap and other universities to support Professor Ushie today. It's really amazing. I want to thank a very beautiful wife of Professor Ushie, Mrs. Roslyn. Thank you very much for keeping the home front so good and so well for Professor Ushie to do what he has done today. And also thank you, dear children, for making your father proud. I think you have seen what he has done. So please, follow his example and it will be well. Let me thank all the friends, everybody that has come from the community of Professor Ushie. It's amazing. Professor Ushie is a great man. I had opportunity to be in his village. This is a man that has touched so many lives. When his father passed on, I was there. And the people of his community love him. This is how they were in the village. It means you are a great man, Professor Ushie. Thank you very much for coming. I also thank the traditional rulers that have come both from Uyo and from the community of Professor Ushie. It is not easy to move up traditional rulers, but today thank also the Church of Professor Ushie, Assemblies of God. You've come in your numbers to support your very own. Thank you very much for making us proud today. I thank all the friends of Professor Ushie. Today, I have seen how things are orderly. It means Professor Ushie has great friends that have made things very, very orderly. Thank you very much for making him proud. Let me thank the security men and everybody from our own security department for what we have witnessed today. Everything is really, really orderly. Professor Ushie wouldn't have been able to do all this together, apart from the lecture, the nitty-gritty and all the arrangements. So I thank the organizing committee for doing everything so well today. Department of Music, I can see the HODs and the professors of the Department of Music and all the students in that department. Thank you very much for always being there for us. Of the greatest Nigerian students, thank you very much for being here. I ask God that brought all of us safely from our homes to lead us back safely after this great lecture. And most importantly, don't forget to pick a copy of this lecture so that we can correct all the mistakes we made in it. Okay, it will come. It will come. This is not a lecture we shouldn't have copies. Thank you very much. May God bless all of us for being here.
We thank the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Academic Professor Tony Esin, for thanking all of us. A round of applause for her. Just before we dismiss, please recognize my elder brother, Paul Ushie. Paul Ushie, the lecturer, says we should be recognized. And my sister, Reverend Angela Ashaw. The lecturer says you should be recognized. Thank you. Thank you. I call on Reverend Dr. Sien of the Assemblies of God to give us the closing prayers. Please remember to get your car key from me. And after this, there will be a group photograph at the front of this building. Thank you, Your Reverence. Please come up and bless us.
Shall we be upstanding, please? To God be the glory, great things He has done. So lovely the world that He gave us His Son. Oh, dear, it's like that golden from sin and so our blessed Father in heaven, we are thankful and grateful unto you, Lord, for this day you have set apart to honor your servant, Professor Joseph Akawu Ushie. You say that you honor those that honor you. And we have seen it manifested today in the life of this great man. You ordered his steps from early in life and put him in the path that you wanted to use him on. And Father, that has resulted today in this conglomeration of academic stars from Akwa State, from Cross River, from the entire Nigeria, from outside, gathering here for this sole purpose. Be thou exalted and be thou glorified in the name of Jesus. Lord, we commit Prof. Ushie to your hands. As you have kept him all these years, may you continue to keep him. May you continue to increase him. Father, he's here to write more papers and make more achievements in academic field. I will not fail, Lord, to thank you for the past and present vice chancellors and leaders in this university. Father, as you have kept them, may you continue to keep them, particularly the present leadership of this university. Father, imbue them with wisdom from on high, that they will be able to rule and, oh God, follow your paths in these difficult days that we are in, to mold the lives of young people. Thank you, Lord, for what we are seeing, what is happening in the University of Uyo. Suddenly, Uyo is becoming a center of excellence, a center that people acknowledge that you always have the best. May it continue to be so in the name of Jesus. I commit everyone into your hands, O Lord, as we are going back to our different destinations. I pray, Lord, that you send your angels to protect your people, lead every one of us safely to our different rooms. May we not encounter any obstacle or any difficulty on the road. Particularly our brethren from Obaniku. Oh God, take them safely. In spite of the bad road between Calabar and Uyo, clear the road for them and take them safely, Lord. Thank you, Father in heaven. I take it down specially, Lord, to pray for the administration of University of Uyo. Oh God, give them exceptional skills to be able to perform in these times that we are in, that they will continue to maintain the function which you have put them here. Blessed be your holy name, O Lord. To you be all the praise, worship, adoration, and thanksgiving. This we ask in Jesus' blessed holy name. Amen. Now may the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, the love of God, and the sweet fellowship of the Holy Spirit rest and abide with us now and forevermore. Amen. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow us all the days of our lives, and we shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. In that standing mood, we take the closing songs, the anthems. We'll start with the university anthem and then the national anthem, just one verse, and then we recess. for Senate to recess. Please remain where you are until Senate has recessed.